This is the king of old style, the big cat, Humphrey Jacobs I, and you're listening to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network. We are continuing our Rocky Mountain Pro Milestone Week here on the network, where we are bringing in all of the stars from Rocky Mountain Pro, heading into that big event, man. Here we are. It's August 12th. It's going to be at the Quarry in the Jefferson County Fairgrounds in Golden, Colorado. But man, we're super psyched about that. We're going to make that trip out there. But hey, without further, let's go ahead and bring in the man himself, the king of old style, one half of the Tag Team Champions currently, by the way, we might add. Humphrey Jacobs, buddy. How's it going, man? It's been a while.
Let me fix what you just said right there. The better half of the Rocky Mountain Pro Tag Team Champions. So let's just get that out of the way right now.
I hear you.
Yeah, things are going all right, man. Getting pretty excited about leading up to, our Starcade, the Milestone that's coming up. And so we're getting heavy into season 2 here of Charged, and things are rolling for Rocky Mountain Pro and Humphrey Jacobs. It's going pretty well.
Yeah, you brought it up, so we'll go ahead and plug it there. Season 2 started July 19th. It's Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, by the way. I know you guys are Central, so that's 7 p.m. And we like to plug it, man. We talked about it several times. Second most watched wrestling program on the Fight app, only behind Ring of Honor, who's got a national, TV deal. So that's kind of crazy that you guys are right there behind it, man, chasing them down. But again, season 2 just started. So I always tell everybody, jump on the Fight app. Season 1's on demand. Binge watch it and quit watching, Orange is the New Black or whatever on Netflix and jump over and start season 1 if you haven't caught it, and then jump straight into season 2, man, and you'll be caught up in no time. Binge watching Rocky Mountain Pro is super easy. But
yeah, we talked about it last time. It was surprising that we were the second highest downloaded show behind Ring of Honor on the Fight app. But I think really what we bring to the table is something different than most other wrestling shows out there right now, aside from, like TNA, or I guess they're called Impact now, and Raw and whatnot. I don't know if a lot of wrestling shows are very character driven, if they're very storyline driven, and I think that's something that we kind of fill that void or offer, something unique in that category. And so I think it can. I think people are getting a pretty cool, or I guess enjoying their taste of it. Because like I said, it's something different. There's even some bigger shows out there that I've been watching that, you're surprised because it's like you don't really understand. There's no context within what the matches are happening. It's just kind of like rolling out a match, and then maybe the commentator or announcer, might kind of fill you in on a little bit of backstory. Yeah, sorry, I got my dogs are barking. We got some people working on the Humphrey Jacobs Manor, the Humphrey Jacobs Mansion out here in the Rocky Mountains. So my dogs are going kind of crazy. I apologize.
Oh, no, man. It's, like we talked about beforehand, kids and dogs, man. You can't control them. But
just to finish that thought is, I think that's what we bring to the table, and I think people are liking it, is that added story, the context of why. That's why when you were a kid you fell in love with wrestling, to begin with, because Jake Roberts' snake bit Randy Savage on the arm, and oh my God, what are they going to do? And it wasn't just about the 5-star match; it was about the 5-star story. So anyway, that's my take on things.
Oh yeah, and absolutely. In your wheelhouse, it would be, what's Dusty going to do now that the Horseman have broken his ankle, right? In the case.
Exactly.
But another thing I'll add to it. One of the things I love about Rocky Mountain Pro, and I know we touched this briefly last time you were on, but I always have to throw this in here. There's always winners and losers. It seems there's no cheap ways out of a match. Somebody wins and there's belt changing hands, etc.
Exactly. Well, I mean, that's the goal of professional wrestling, right? Is to win your match. It's a contest between two combatants to find out who the better man or better woman is, and so that's what we're trying to accomplish, I think.
And doing a good job of it. But hey, let's backpedal up. You know, it's like I said, we talked about it. It's been a while since you've been on. Last time you were on, you were feuding with the champ, Mario Vanger. Tell us a little bit what's been going on. Catch the fans up with what's been happening since then.
Yeah, well, back in the fall, I was feuding with the champ Sam Udell, and then he's a coward and backed out and took another job, and then I had a match with Mario for that belt, and he managed to get the better of me in that one, and then I managed to get the better of him in another one to get another shot at his belt, and then before Sam left town with his tail tucked between his legs, he cost me the title in a match with Mario and hit me with a chair. And, I didn't think it was right. I felt like I still deserved the title. I feel like I still should be the number one contender, considering I've won like 5 number one contenders matches. But, so to appease me, old Vic Russo put me in a tag team with Curtis Cole, and we, thanks to me and my wrestling prowess, we won the Rocky Mountain Pro tag team belts. So right now we're the tag team champions. It's kind of so crazy it just might work. It's like a buddy cop drama or comedy. So we'll see how that goes.
So, but you guys, it's funny because I've had you both on the show, but with both personalities, it feels like it's an oil and water mix with you two guys, though.
Absolutely. I think Curtis is a slacker. He plays video games. He doesn't exercise. You can tell that by his terrible physique. He, he's basically what I call a bum. And Humphrey Jacobs, is the opposite of that. Humphrey Jacobs is the only All-American in Rocky Mountain Pro history. I don't know. It's oil and water. And when we wrestle, sometimes it works well, but a lot of times he kind of pisses me off, just because he doesn't take anything seriously. And I'm still sitting there thinking that I deserve to be the champ. So it's tough. But, right now, as long as I got a little bit of gold around my waist, that's fine. But as far as I'm concerned, there's only one belt in this promotion that matters, and that's that heavyweight title.
Well, everybody's always chasing the top, but as long as you're the tag team, what are the odds they're going to give you some shots at that title?
Oh man, I don't know. That's again circumstances beyond my control. That's Rizzo's choice right there, the executive producer. But we'll see. I'll defend that belt as well as I can, but definitely there's another top prize that I've got my eyes on.
Well, and that top prize, we all, like you were talking earlier, we're heading into this big event, Milestone. You guys are bringing in tons and tons of talent. Let's be blunt. Who you got bringing in? You're bringing in Al Snow, Eugene's coming in, and of course, just let's be blunt. The talented roster that you guys already have. Mario, who you spoke of already, Steven Ashburn's the Charged champion. You and Curtis are the tag champions. You've got Allie, you've got Trinity, Nanny, all, in the Lockettes division. We would be remiss if we didn't bring up a guy named Royce Isaacs, who's, on that roster as well.
Right.
So it's a pretty stacked little roster. So heading into Milestone, what does it look like what does it look like for you and Curtis as tag champions heading into, Milestone?
Well, over the course of the summer, we kind of beat every team that came our way. So I'm pretty interested to see what happens. He's been getting under my skin lately, though, and I've had to slap him around a little bit. And so, we'll see. Hopefully, someone will be able to find some competition for us to get after things. But if he doesn't kind of change his ways, I think there could be some problems between the two of us.
So like you said, you've defeated everybody they've marched in front of you. I mean, go ahead and, how's it going as far as, like, are they looking to bring somebody from outside in, to face you guys? I mean, if your guys are knocking it out of the park right now, I mean, I know the Gorillas are there. I mean, they've got obviously some other teams there as well. But who at Milestone would you want to face if they've got a team there that, you think can push you guys a little bit?
Well, I think the most decorated, team in Rocky Mountain Pro history and before that NRW history, and really in this whole, in the probably Mountain States region of independent wrestling, it's probably the Gorillas. And so I think if someone wants to have a match worthy of a show of the magnitude of Milestone 7, I would say that the Gorillas would be the one team that could hang with us. Now that being said, we've already beaten them a handful of times. So I don't know. Maybe they'll bring some people in. Maybe they'll get Eugene and Al Snow together, and maybe those two old timers will be able to hang with us. Who knows? Well, that would be some old style, right? That you get a chance to show off a little bit. But right. Who knows? I think that's one thing that's pretty cool about Rocky Mountain Pro, though. On that note, is we don't have to bring in. I think a lot of times you'll look at an indie show or indie shows going around and around the country, and they kind of feel like they need to bring in bigger name talent to kind of get things going. And what's cool is, we're building talent from right here, and they're actually starting to now spread out and stuff. So Mario and, Mario Royce, the Gorillas, have been doing the NWL in Kansas City, and then Sam, who I talked about earlier, he's actually their champion now under a different name, but he's their champion, and they've been going down. These guys going down to like Future Stars in Vegas, and just venturing out. So I think one thing that's pretty cool about Rocky Mountain Pro is that we're able to kind of build and then bill our own talent on the card, as opposed to feeling the need to bring in, some big name from somewhere else. And the word that's going around is, I don't know, we mentioned it last time when I talked to you, is me hitting a lot of these shows around in this area in the Southeast. I've been hit up probably a dozen times about guys who are trying to get out there to work. So it's become a hotbed where guys are trying to get to work. Right. Well, like you said, or like we talked about, having the second most highly, downloaded show on that Fight app is pretty crazy. And so I think people are starting to realize that that's a great platform to get yourself seen and noticed. I think it's cool that we've got a well-produced show. We've got an arena. We work multiple times a month, where I think a lot of shows or a lot of indie promotions maybe, once a month or once every couple months even. So, I think it's just a pretty cool platform to get yourself out there. Well, and it doesn't hurt that you've got that academy there. I know it's not the Mercury Academy at the moment, which we'll get into. The Hoodlum Academy. The Hoodlum Academy. The Hoodlum Academy. Exactly. Yeah, it's actually pretty wild. It's been growing a lot, like, especially over the last maybe month and a half. There's so many new faces. So it's pretty cool. And I would have to attribute that to, the success of Charge getting out there. I would assume so, just because all of a sudden it's like things are kind of exploding. It's pretty cool. Yeah, and like I said, it's on between the academy, the production levels, and again, we it seems like his name always comes up, but you've got somebody like Vince Russo there who's got the experience, who can train and teach. Even guys who've been in the business for 3, 4, or 5 years can go out there and learn something from somebody who's produced the biggest shows in the world at one point, and can teach them even more and develop them further. Right. No, it's pretty cool, man. Pretty cool to be a part of. Oh, absolutely. So let's get it, like I said, but we briefly mentioned, I want to ask just a little take. I know last week's episode, we had Anaya and, Matt Yaden, who are feuding. Mercury Yaden are feuding a little bit. Mercury bit off a little more than he could chew apparently, and lost the school. And he's trying to get back into, it's a crazy story if you haven't followed. It's definitely one of those, I'm like, you got to go back and watch it all on the Fight app. I know it seems like it doesn't affect you because you're doing you and you're winning gold regardless.
But, so that storyline at all, as far as, do you have any take on, like, does it matter who's controlling the school, the company, or anything like that? Or are you just going to do you?
I mean, it matters who's in control of the company as long as they give, Humphrey Jacobs his right due. Again, I go back to, I feel like I should be, the rightful number one contender. And so I think if someone wants to, have business keep moving forward and draw crowds, I think putting my name at the top of a card is a pretty good way to do it. So as long as somebody kind of thinks along those lines, I think we'll be okay, and they're gonna be okay with me.
Yeah, but like I said, at the top, it's a crowded between you, Mario. I just, some of my personal favorites that are out there, you, yourself, obviously Mario, Royce Isaacs. I mean, it's a super loaded top of the card. And,
right.
There's also this other guy that's always been dancing around the picture who's the current charge champion, Stephen Ashburn. He's trying to get into the mix for that. So, I mean, it's a crowded room at the top, but you got to admit that's a lot of talent that you're trying to wedge in there, even though you've got a great claim to it.
Right. I mean, well, that goes back to what I was saying, whereas that's what's cool about not having to, be those money marks, I guess, for that insider term of bringing out big names all the time. Cause we have guys that can put on a great, put on a great match and really draw people in without having to, venture out and bring someone in to do that. We've got, the talent here to do it ourselves. On that note, we've got a bunch of dudes who, weigh anywhere from 220 and upwards. So I feel like we've got some people that are actual, professional wrestlers as opposed to maybe a bunch of 155-pound guys just trying to do do acrobatics, jumping around. Anyway, that's my take on things.
No, I totally agree, because I'll backpedal up and tell you, I went to an indie show a couple of weeks ago and had a kid come up to ask me. We had this particular company lets us set up a table, banner, etc., sell our shirts, etc. And kid walks up to me and says something about wanting to be on the podcast, and I'm like, well, we don't have fans on the podcast, really. I mean, we just bring on guests for a rest. And he goes, no, I'm a wrestler.
Right.
And he was like 5'6", 5'7", maybe 150 pounds at best. And I just kind of stood there for a second like, okay. But
right. I feel like, I think I feel like I remember us touching on this on the last time I was on the show, but it's like, I think part of being a wrestler is someone who looks like they can kick the shit out of you. I played Division I college football. I played professional rugby. I weighed 230 pounds, and I'm pretty fucking strong. And so I think that's all I think that's part of being a wrestler. So, that's just kind of my take on things. You look back at it and it's like, who would you believe would, beat somebody up, like Dick the Bruiser or that kid that weighed 160 pounds and, you thought he was a kid.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Speaking of which, what I want to ask you, man, I think I was speaking to Mario last time on and talking about my daughter, who's an extreme workout junkie, by the way. And I showed her your video that you recently dropped, your deadlift. And she was super impressed, man. And she was like, man, he's got raw strength there. I'm like, and that goes back to your whole point that she saw it and she was like, wow, she was impressed.
Well, I appreciate it. I was pretty pleased with it. Been putting in the work. Got to get ready for Milestone, Got to be at my peak athletic, abilities of performance right there. Make sure we put on the best show of the year for the Rocky Mountain Pro faithful and the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network, who's going to be making the trip out to Colorado.
All the way from Atlanta, Georgia, man. You're right.
All the way from Atlanta, Georgia.
I called people out on the, Stephen Ashburn interview. I said, look, because he said, if you're in the, Colorado area, I said, man, if I can make the trip from Georgia, there's no excuse not to, say like, oh, I can't make that trip. So,
well, just you guys even saying that goes to show, how much it's grown and how big a platform we have now. I think a lot of us sometimes kind of think to ourselves, if we were I mean, this isn't an excuse or anything like that by no means, but I feel like if Rocky Mountain Pro, I mean, obviously we'd have to have a different name, but we're on the East Coast. There's more of a wrestling hotbed. I feel like, you know, we might even be making bigger strides than we do now. Colorado and the Rocky Mountains aren't exactly known for their history and professional wrestling, you know. I mean, the AWA used to run shows out here, but that was, you know, the last time they did was probably like, I don't know, 1983 or something like that, I bet.
Yeah.
And so a lot of us kind of talk about that stuff. So the fact that like you're making it out from Atlanta, that's pretty cool. And it shows just how much bigger things are getting for us. So stoked on that.
Well, like you said, I mean, it goes to, I think, it says a lot about what you guys have done on the Fight app, putting it out there, and YouTube. You're on the YouTube channel as well, but it's putting it all out there. That August 12th, like I said, I'm leaving August 9th because brace yourself for this one. I'm driving. I'm not flying.
Oh wow. I'm being from Atlanta originally. When I went to school out here in Colorado, I've made that drive a handful of times. So I feel your pain. It's a long one. It's a cool one. You see a lot of the country, but it's a long one for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. But when, like I said, with as talented as you guys are and everything, when Matt invited me out, I could not say no. I mean, I was like, I've got to go. But I'm bringing recording equipment, stuff like that. So I was like, I'm not checking all this stuff. I'm just going to drive. It'll be easier.
For sure.
And that's August 12th. At the Jefferson County Fairgrounds. Tickets are available, by the way, at www.celebratejeffco.com. The tickets start at $7. I mean, they go up to 30 for front row. And then my big plus is I'm going to ask you about it because I literally caught this when Matt asked me about it. The VIP event the day before, the meet and greet, $40 gets you, you're going to see all the Rocky Mountain Pro talent. Al's going to be there. Eugene's going to be all the talent. I mean, so that's super cool too that you guys are doing that the day before. To have a walkthrough with all you guys.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting, stuff. It's humbling to think that, there'd be people who want to come hang out with us. So, I mean, the whole thing's grown so much and it's pretty cool, even in just the year plus I've been with the promotion. So it's pretty wild to see it. And I'm proud to be a part of it.
Well, I'm going to ask you about a couple names that are in the promotion, and I'm going to ask you about because it goes back to something we were just talking about. There's a huge monster that's out there now, and he seems to be the hand-chosen one, in my opinion, from what I've seen on Rocky Mountain Pro. Filter.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me a little scoop on this guy.
He's a big kid. He's 6'8", 6'9". I don't know how much he weighs, but it's got to be getting up towards that 300-pound mark. And he's a badass for sure. He's young. He's hungry. He wants it. He's open. He's willing to, listen and learn from everybody. And I took a choke slam from him at a show a couple weeks back. And, luckily I didn't get pinned. There was a breakup, but, whatever anyone wants to say about wrestling, after that choke slam, I was taking a 3 count, no matter what. And, so yeah, kid's a monster. He's got a huge future. He's traveling. He's riding with people who know more than he is. And he just wants to make it happen. And, with some luck and some hard work and, gets his ass in the gym and kind of starts molding that body a little bit. I think that the sky's the limit for him.
Absolutely. And then I want to ask, I'm a huge fan of the Lockettes division. I got to ask, I try to ask everybody that's gone on from Rocky Mountain Pro, about the talented Lockettes division. Give me your take on the women's division heading into Milestone. What are we looking at Milestone?
There's a lot of craziness going on right now in there. You got your 3 kind of main dogs that have been kind of battling back and forth for that title. You got crazy Unholy Trinity, who's unique, and there's not a whole lot else like her right now, and probably in women's wrestling. You got Ali Gatto, who's worked her ass off and is
one of the most dastardly heels, I've seen. And then there's Nanny, who's she's kind of along the lines of Filter as far as just young and works her ass off and wants it. So it's pretty cool to see them go. And again, I keep going back to having that platform. I think it's pretty cool that Rocky Mountain Pro, among the indies, gives them, that platform. I can't really think of too many other, like dedicated, the importance placed on women's wrestling outside of, the WWE. It's like, and so on that note where I'm talking about how the school has grown so much, it's like half those new students are girls, coming in and wanting to get it done. So it's been pretty cool to see it. And
I don't know if you may not know the story, but even Allie had contacted me because she saw some of the talent some of the shows I was going to. And she said, I want you to walk up to that girl and call her out and tell her she needs to come to Rocky Mountain Pro because, the competition's tough here, but we want more. Bring them on. Yeah. And it was so, and
I'm sure the three of them are getting pretty sick of beating each other up week in, week out. I think they probably want some more fresh meat.
Oh yeah. And it was top, but I don't know if the name, she knows I've said it before. The name Kiera Hogan, who's traveled the country at this point. She's been with every, major women's promotion that's out there. And she said, I'm in. Let's make it happen. So,
right on.
So absolutely. So I'd love to see that stack up. But let's come back to you, man. And, that tag team gold, I'm friend of the show. Obviously we've had you on before. I'm torn. So, and this is the funny part because we've had Curtis on and he was such a good guy to us, obviously, and we share some interest, but I'm more of the old school guy. You know me, I told you last time I'm 43. So I'm more of that old school wrestling style. So hopefully you guys can, make it work. I mean, cause, we're friends of both you guys, but, hopefully you guys can hold on to that gold.
Yeah, I mean, I think hopefully Curtis can hold up his end of the deal, and if he does, I won't have to get upset with him. But if he doesn't, there's no telling what might happen. So he's doing all right for now, but every day it seems like he's one step away from maybe taking one on the chin. We'll see.
Well, hopefully you guys can patch it up. Like I said, we love both of you guys for different reasons, obviously. You're more the style that I watch. He's personality wise, I'm a fan.
Sure.
But yeah, man, we've got Milestone coming up, all the talent in the world, Rocky Mountain Pros. It's back on, season 2's back on the Fight app, all the good stuff going on. Remember, debuted on July 19th, but you can go on demand, catch season 1, season 2, all on the Fight app, binge watch it like we said earlier. It's a whole lot quicker than trying to binge watch, a 20 episode, television show that most people are trying to do. Milestone, August 12th. The VIP's the day before on the 11th. Tickets are $7, as low as that, up to $30, $40 for the meet and greet. www.celebratejeffco.com. Make sure you get there. I'll go old school with you. Freddie Miller would say, be there, right?
I like that.
Tag teams, you're opening the door, challenging them, telling them head out to Rocky Mountain Pro. And then the funny thing is, I'll kind of digress a little bit. Something we talked about earlier. I've literally had wrestlers asking me, because one of the big things going on in the indie scene, especially I've heard you guys say it a ton out at Rocky Mountain Pro, is do the drive. I've actually had a couple of wrestlers ask me if I had a seat open to make that drive just to get out there to meet you guys.
Oh, right on.
So that'd be cool.
I mean, like I said, I think we're offering a pretty cool platform for people that they want to be a part of. You got Vince Russo's name, whether that be, famous or infamous, attached to it. It's going to get, more eyeballs or more earballs on it. So, like if I were a guy trying to get my name out there, and you're trying to work more and more, it's like I think we're definitely a desirable place to be.
Oh yeah, you never know. I may roll in from Atlanta with a tag team in the car because that's kind of how I roll, right?
Bring them on, man. Bring them on.
And so, like I said, we're super excited to make this trip. Glad to have you on. But as always, before we cut loose, where can people find you? You know, if they're hunting down Humphrey Jacobs, where do they find you?
You can go on Facebook, Humphrey Jacobs, the first. I got my Facebook page on there. You can go on Instagram. There's King of Old Style. On Twitter, it's the King of Old Style as well. And I'm always sharing and retweeting old good videos and GIFs and all that good stuff, trying to keep that old style alive. Because you know, if it's not for people like me and a few others, you know, all you might see going down the road is 165-pound guys trying to do flips onto each other. So hopefully we'll keep alive the 220-pounders trying to drive each other's skulls into the mat.
Good old style Southern wrestling. That's what I always call it. You can't get enough of that. So.
Yeah, man, it's wrestling. It'll always be wrestling to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, man, it was a pleasure having you on again. Always a fan. You know, hopefully it won't be the last, and look forward to actually shaking the hand of the man at Milestone. So that'll be awesome.
Right on, man. We'll drive safe, and you know, we'll see you for the big event.
All right, buddy. We'll see you then.
Thanks, Nick.